media, it is just the other way around. They have destroyed it, they broken into pieces, and so on. Well, when you go to a deeper, we don't have too much time, but when you compare it with Un Grand Odalisque, it is just the opposite how the Westerners are now perceiving the other woman. In the Odalisque, it is, first of all, in the interior world, she's laying down, this is the Oriental and very sexual image. Whereas in the second one, it is not sexual, it is just this solitude. You can say she's alone, she needs protection in the second one. And it is not like really a Muslim woman or migrant, but she's a migrant woman. Just there, looking a little bit lost. And also, normally Muslim women from migrant origin, they are always having their children or men around them or other friends. This is really solitude. They have asked me to participate to a panel. I said, this is Islamophobia, and I don't go, okay? But then I said, what is this? And then I have written a 30-page article, and I think I spent my time at MIT as a visiting professor sitting and writing this article. Nobody have realized maybe this article, but this was a way for me dealing with it, power of interpretation. Okay? So first I said this is Islamophobia, and then secondly I started to understand, and I said, well, this is interesting because a German artist is trying, like in the Oriental Times, to understand the other's culture. Of course there is maybe colonial or aggressive or Oriental gesture, but when you go back to text and historical interpretations, cultural, intercultural reading, you know that in Germany, nakedness is purity. They are going back to nature, naked being natural. So we can deal with all these different meanings. But at the same time, this shows this is a different contemporary way of a German trying to deal with the neighbor. It is not the faraway Orientalist Ottoman. Now, the second one is from Nezaket Ekici. Now, it's not a German, but it is Turkish and German. So these are the new characters, new figures, public figures are coming from different, very métissé, very different cultural codes. She's born, she's a video artist, but she has been living in Germany. She was 3 years old, and her work is exhibited in Saatchi Gallery, and she's dealing with this. Again, stereotypes, total veil, and the pig. Again, purity and impurity. And the pig becomes a very important public persona in Europe today, both for Muslims and non-Muslims. Non-Muslims use pig to desacralize, for instance, places where mosques are going to build. And Muslims are dealing with pig, saying that it's not our culture, it's not halal, what do we do with it? So artist is dealing with this red taboo things as a, how I deal with this with this culture. And now this one is from Sarah Maple. And when I have shown this picture in one of my groups, circle of philosophers, let's say, with Muslims, one of the Muslims said, and I find this very interesting, well, this doesn't, first of all, pig is not haram for Muslims as an animal. It's just forbidden to eat. Same with Jews besides. So when they bring pigs and make a parade in places for construction of mosques, this doesn't mean anything to us, intercultural misunderstanding. And here, the pig, as if she handles the pig as a baby, as if it's like a Muslim is embracing Europe. You see, that's a totally different, this was a very Muslim, faith-based Muslim in Europe who told us in a group discussion, this reminds me of how Muslims are going to embrace Europe. So it has a totally different meaning than aggressivity. Now, there's a young Moroccan French artist, Belgian, Mehdi Georges Lahlou. Again, you see that these young artists, you don't know where they come from, their identities, they are really from different backgrounds, both Muslim, from a Muslim and non-Muslim parents. And he plays with, again, this is very European, like the pig, Mehdi Georges Lahlou, saying this is not, ce n'est pas une pig, this is not a Ce n'est pas une femme musulmane, because he plays with this obsession about the headscarf in European publics and says, well, maybe you don't see them, you can interpret it again in a different way. Muslim girls told me, well, my students, this was in a class, they said, well, because we don't look at the faces anymore. I have written that too. That is, the obsession about the symbol became so important that we do not see. We lose sight of the human faces. So in a way, that can remind you that maybe you don't look at the faces of covered girls. Now, the same artist, very provocative, it doesn't mean this is my taste. I'm just telling you how all these artworks made a big controversy. They were damaged, they were taken away and from the exhibition. And Mehdi George made this auto-portrait in society. Again, you need to know a lot of cultural and religious codes and knowledge to read these images, because you should know that there are never shoes in a praying room, because again, purity, impurity, you don't carry the impurity of the exterior into the room. And then these shoes on the carpet, it's like impurity, and there is this, and also with high heels, it brings women into this place of praying room. And here again, the interpretations were quite different. Some people said, okay, his intention, and again, you can think about the intentions. Intentions of the artist might be to provoke and to make himself or herself more publicly visible and known. But the intention is not, the art goes beyond the intention of the artist. It is in the hands of those who interpret and to figure out different layers in these works that has the power of interpretation, which is more important. And that escapes the intention of the artists. So that's kind of intercultural reading, I suppose, I propose you, if it works or not, even around images, and try to figure out who interprets in what way, how to bring different layers from history, from philosophy. In order to read these images, you need to have a lot of knowledge between different cultures. Now, I'm finishing just to give one reference to book. The Power of Images is the title of a book written by David Friedberg, Studies on the History and Theory of Response. This is from Art History and Chicago University Press. This is about the medieval times. How is this from me? No. How to the motivation to destroy images or anti-image polemics go back in history. It's not only today, and it is not related with Islam. Already we know Byzance as the place for iconoclastic tradition, but he also stresses that in the post Byzantine Europe, there's a very important Catholic and other religious iconoclastic polemics and acts against images, to destroy images. So it's not true that the Western world was tolerant about all images and now Islam is not tolerant of images. So in order to have some historical background with true art history, you can go and use this book. And second, just last one, another book that I would like to bring here is, oh, can I make, last book doesn't come up. No, okay. Images in Spite of All, and this is from France, Georges Huberman, who is very well known. The original is in French, but I give you the English one, Chicago University Press, 2008. 4 photographs from Auschwitz, and here he shows, he takes these pictures from Auschwitz and he interprets. He brings interpretation and shows how these photographs can reveal the truth and constitute an important archival work. So this can help you to also engage how the photographs can be used as an archival work or not only falsification, and how with full photographs, it can also be, even taking photographs, it is considered as a way of resisting to Holocaust. This is all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
We just have a few minutes for questions and answers. We will be revisiting this lecture tomorrow again in Cappadocia if you have further details tomorrow afternoon. But if you have any questions, we have a few minutes before lunch.
Feel yourself free as a circle of philosophers. The article, Turkish Delight. Yes, it must be on my, when you go to my webpage or Nilüfer Göley, yes, I have a kind of webpage. And there you can have my articles, all of them. Including, yes, this is named Turkish Delight. Lokum. Do you have any other? Just don't be intimidated. I'm more intimidated than you. Well, if you think what I think about it, I think it's all atrocities. We have to come to terms with it. There's Dersim. There are genocides of Dersim is very important, but also Armenian genocide. This wasn't. I didn't go into Turkey. I was trying to be only on Europe and the images. But I think again, there shouldn't be one way of remembering these genocides. Politics of Iraq. Also in Iraq, yes, of course. I really wanted only, you are very right, but you're right to raise the issue, and I mean under Saddam regime, and of course I think it was atrocity and people learned from it, but there's also Srebrenica. And if we go back to these genocides and pogroms, I think we need also to open it to different kind of politics of memory. I think it's like the notion of religion, which is basically predominantly, we think, through Protestant history of religion. I think also politics of memory, we should make it more pluralized. And it's not only one memory, it's not only about Holocaust, but it's also about Kurdish, also Armenians, and Alevis, and so there are, or Bosniaks, we can go. But the issue is not only to remember them, but to think about the ways we can commemorate and bring it into our present day. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your remarks. I was wondering if you could cite any examples of good translators in any of these situations. So you opened with the idea of legislating versus translating, and you raised some issues, specific issues, but I was wondering if there are any exemplars of people in the public space that have done the translating.
Very good question too, but I think that's one of the main issues. Why? Because in the public sphere today, translators are not heard. Why? Because translators, like what I've done, has a multiple viewpoints, and I try to bring out layers. Whereas in the actual private sphere, which is public sphere, which became equated with media sphere. And media requires scandalous positions, black and white positions. They don't ask for translators, because translation is these gray areas. So in that sense, we need to create alternative public spaces for that reason. And this summer school for me is an alternative public space. Whereas media, they don't ask, if they ask me to come to media, it will be, are you for or against? Are you for what you think about Charlie Hebdo attacks, okay? For or against. But if I say you have to include Muslim points of view, it's not only about freedom of expression, what you do with freedom of expression, and how the other perceives. You cannot only say, so you're not for freedom of expression. But I would like to say how I perceive maybe these cartoons, or as I said, the first one, second one. But there's no place for that. Even for Muslim people, they ask you to behave, to react as for or against. So this is the problem of media. And more you take a position for or against, more you become audible and visible. Okay, and I'm not, for instance, and I prefer not to, in a way, because it is better to, because I believe that we need to be interpreters and not make it more allowed. But that is one point you can think. Public sphere requires time, knowledge, and not binary opposition. That is the meaning of intercultural. And more it is equated with media, less public sphere we have, because it's not round. Yes? Louder. You don't have a
I have a question regarding and the part of the so propaganda can also be sort of directed to create a space of but suppose like for example circulating false
Bir tane daha var ama sonra.
I guess happy people
I don't hear you.
um,
I'm sorry.
Tamam baba.
You're right.
so what I'm trying to point at is so I think we can also dealing from the part of images and
Excuse me, I don't want to lose your...
Yeah. So actually, my question is regarding. So we could also like circulate false propaganda, which is sort of aimed at people living well together. And here also there is this ethical issue of like, oh, these are false images, but then the end sort of, does it justify the means? And also kind of it's related to delinking truth from the power of images, like, so the power of images as something, having the power to redeem human society doesn't necessarily have to be truthful, it could be false as well.
Yeah, I think it's a very important remark because we take images as revealing truth now. It's not always the case. And when we work as a researcher, I found out that me and my team, my students, were just printing out from the images and controversies and news from the internet. And this is also something very tricky because you need to construct a document. It is not given there, it's not the truth. That is what it means, mediation. That's why I have given you the book of Didier Huberman, because he reconstructs. An image is never just by itself. It has been given as an example. It can be used in many different ways. I think it's Lucy who has given the example for the same images circulating in crowd. Yes, exactly. So the same image can mean different things, and you can manipulate it. So you have to go back. Who has taken it? What is the context? It's like a work of a historian. You make it as an archival work. It is like also autobiographies. So you have to create a mediation. Go back to texts. It's never only the images that can speak by itself. Yes.
Hi, thank you for the lecture. So you presented some examples of artworks or images that have to do with Islam and generally are either questioning or provoking or using some sort of hybrid structure. And I think within Europe, these are the sorts of images or artworks that gain a very high profile. At the same time, another image or other imagery related to Islam that has a high profile is that which is given by ISIS or other kind of extremist groups. What you don't see in Europe, and I'm talking from personal experience, is kind of positive images of Islam that come from within the tradition that can be acceptable to a vast majority of Muslims. and that has a very, well, I don't see it at all. If it exists, it has a very low profile, even from within the Muslim community. And I was wondering what can be done to increase kind of positive images of Islam, which is traditional, maybe perhaps more in accordance with the beliefs of the Muslim community.
Yes, thank you very much. You are absolutely right. I have done an exhibition on veiling by artists coming from all over the world, all over the world, from Muslim world, basically Iranian women, but also Iraqi. And this was a very small exhibition at Bilgi University. And these words were exactly what you have said. It is not traditional word, but they, also Algerians, they have taken what it meant, privacy, intimacy, mahram, woman's secrecy and privacy. And then they played with it. What is light and what is long, shadow. It's like art, because it is exactly when we come to the public sphere, I expose myself, but I also try to protect my intimacy. Okay, so we are always playing with what we expose and what we keep to ourselves and intimacy. So Muslims are much more in questioning, exploring these lines, because they are in public, they are under public light. And in a way that is also contradictory, because they cover themselves and they become sources of attraction, visibility and invisibility, you know. And they have to deal with that. So artists were dealing with that in much less provocative way, much more constructive way. But it is like exactly media and public sphere. I gave space to that, and I brought that exhibition to the one in Vienna, this Turkish Delight, because they took it away, the Turkish Delight. That's why they asked my exhibition to come. That's the only way I had a space in Vienna, Kristale. And then we came, and one of the people from Vienna came to me and they said to me, "We have to thank you." I said, "Why?" "Because you covered the previous woman." And I like this very much. That is the previous woman, the naked woman. They said, we felt that she was helpless and without protection. So you brought the veiling exhibition, covering. So it wasn't at all provocative, but they were dealing with what is intimacy today in the public world, in the modern world. And I think it's a very important question that should be addressed not only to Muslims, but to all of us.
Thank you very much for the information. And personally, I have most of the time I've thought of this, let's say, cases and how to interpret an image within the society. Well, I've got kind of two questions, if it's possible. So, first, how do you define the human beings? Because human beings are the basic, let's say, sources for, creating these images and these interpretations also. And my next question is that, then I'll have a comment, sorry. What about how can we deal with the new generation? Because most of the time there were many tryings in the history that we tried to develop this generation, for example, the present generation, and then it was just like a trying in the history and nobody, let's say, obeys or do it or just apply it on our lives. So then new generations comes with new ideas and it was just like a pass. So how can we, let's say, work on the generation and to apply some rules and some structures in order to be followed? And my comment is that why the system of life is just the same, it cannot be changed. The human beings start with being good, and then they will start towards the violence. And by the way, I'm living in Kurdistan, and I'm only 50 kilometers away from the ISIS. So, and in my life, my parents and let's say the relatives, they have told me that we have been oppressed and we have been killed and regularly. And the only reason that we are carrying guns in order to defend ourselves. So why the system of life, is the same, it's not going to be changed. And holding many seminars and companies like this, but still it's, I can say another way that those who are thinking in changing the life to be better or multicultural, as you said, they're very rare. And the others are not applying on themselves. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I don't think that that's one of the main maybe deceptions for my generation, because we believed we had faith in progress, and progress meant a kind of linear development, better and better. For the Kurdish issue, for instance, we, coming from Turkish background now, we believed that we could have better things, and the prices were very high already in Turkey. But now, when you see there are moments of hope, maybe it will go back again, and these moments of hope give us gives us the feeling that we can better things. What is the moment of hope in Turkey? The Kurdish party became a major actor for bettering the Turkish democracy, not only for Kurds, but it became the hope for Turks as well. So that is a major change. And when you compare it with little time, I mean time it's a big change, okay? So these are the moments. I think optimism and pessimism, I can say two words. Most of the time, some of the attitudes, intellectual attitude is, oh, I'm pessimistic, and you are cherished or you are respected more because you are pessimistic, because you already know bad things. And for me, optimism is trying to understand and open up windows of possibilities, even when there are problems, when there are conflicts, when human beings suffer. This is how I define my work of sociology. So I have chosen these disturbing images, even disturbing sometimes for me, and those who create more conflict than ease conflict. But then you can open up a window of opportunity for going beyond that. Okay? And in the case of Kurdish movement, we have seen it, at least now, I mean, in so little time. Kurds, not only in Turkey, but also in the region. And now, on the contrary, for the world, Kurds became the hope for the whole world. That's too much on your shoulders, and be careful. So how you become human, what is human being for me is a constant struggle to be human being.
Thank you for your information. I think it's the big dilemma between tolerance and need to peace and accountability.
Tolerance, eh?
Tolerance and to need peace and accountability. I think this is how to make tolerance, peace, and accountability go together in order to attain reconciliation.
You're right, but peace, I mean, we always think of peace imposed from above. Okay, when, again, now I can speak as a Turkish. It's military intervention, there is peace. Things are forbidden, there is peace. Okay, all my life passed like that. We were in the university, we were revolutionaries, we were hoping, we were dreaming, and so on. And then the heterogeneous world, we were shouting, and then the youth started to take arms and fight with each other. We couldn't develop tolerance among each other. And then the military intervention came. I continued my study. It was very peaceful. But the price was no freedom at all. The issue is how you bring peace from below. That is the issue. How it is between us and not some kind of power from above. And I think this is really the definition of public culture. That's why I give importance to how we can think of public culture, public way of living together. Maybe we should go back to this modes of address. This is one of my dreams. Maybe you will do it one day. A short film, how in different parts of the world, the different modes of address means peace from different languages, how people develop modes of address. And it becomes also globalized. You know, now there is one form of mode of address which became globalized everywhere. Do you remember which one? What you'd say among each other? Yeah, in universities. What you say? Merhaba, selam. Selam alaikum. Okay. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Good day. Okay, that's nice. We have to learn. Give me 5. Where does this come from? I see many. Huh? Yeah, you see? So there are many ways changing. Modes of address also is changing. And also it's very intercultural. French kiss women, but they don't kiss each other. Turks kiss each other and not women, and also in Muslim culture. So I think we can start on the ground for intercultural